Hey guys, Wet Movie 1 back here again for another Blu-ray DVD update video for you guys today. It's been about 2 weeks or so since my last one. I got a big old stack of goodies here to talk to you guys about. But before I get to the first one, please give this video a thumbs up if you guys enjoy my videos. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know what kind of cool things you guys picked up recently. But let's get started with it. First up is one of the most anticipated sets that was coming out this year that I was just really super excited about. Like this one and the Wonder Year set that's coming real soon. I just can't wait for that one. But this is my second most anticipated Blu-ray set of this year, and that is the Halloween Complete Collection here on Blu-ray. This is the 10-disc edition that comes with all 10 Halloween movies on it. From the John Carpenter Halloween that came out back in 1978 all the way to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I'm not gonna lie, the Rob Zombie Halloweens were never really my favorite, but the bulk of the series that I really liked is from John Carpenter's Halloween all the way to Halloween H2O. But my top 3 Halloween movies of all time would have to be Halloween, Halloween 2, and then Halloween H2O, because they're kind of like a little trilogy. You know, if you ever seen them in that kind of order, because those are all the ones that Jamie Lee Curtis starred in. But one of the other real cool thing is about this 10-disc set here is that it comes with that documentary with Jamie Lee Curtis going to her first and only horror convention to sign autographs and take pictures with her fans for her to raise money for her charity. And that was like one of the most amazing documentaries that I've seen in a while, especially, you know, for a horror film. You know what I mean? I just really liked it. And you get all the same special features that you got on previous Scream Factory releases of 2 and 3. All those same special features are ported over to this set here. But when it comes to Halloween H2O, you get a brand new, about a 50-minute brand new documentary on the making of the film with Jamie Lee Curtis and some of the stars and Josh Hartnett talking about the experience making H2O and how it was one of Josh Hartnett's first movies that he's ever made. And when he was making H2O, he was making The Faculty at the same exact time. And he was a real big fan of the franchise and was really happy to be a part of this Halloween H2O. And the other cool thing is about H2O, you get a new commentary on there with Jamie Lee Curtis and Steve Miner, the director of the film, along with Sean Clark, who you guys all know from Horror's Hollowed Grounds. When he goes to different horror locations and like films the houses and locations where a lot of cool horror films were shot and made at. And I said that's just a really cool thing that's really new about this set that I really enjoyed, because I've always been a fan of Halloween H2O. People kind of give it crap a little bit because it was kind of made in the same era as like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream, like, you know, the 90s teeny bopper kind of horror movies. But I kind of dug that kind of era of horror back in the day, and H2O has always been one of my favorites. And yeah, man, this is just a very cool set. If you guys get a chance, run out there and get it. There's also a 15-disc set, which is kind of big and bulky and stuff, but it looks really cool. And you get like the producer's cut of number 6 and the TV cuts of part 1 and 2 and things like that. But this is the Halloween Complete Collection, the 10-disc version. I enjoy this. I enjoy this Halloween series very much. And if you guys need to get out there and get it, it's very, very awesome. And next up over here is another horror movie that I always kind of liked. I think it spanned like 4 sequels or so, and this is the 30th anniversary edition, and that's Silent Night, Deadly Night here on Blu-ray for the very first time in HD. It's pretty much about this boy named Billy. When he was a young boy, he witnesses his mom and dad get murdered by a guy dressed in a Santa suit, and then he's forced to live in an orphanage. And you know, as he grows up, he's just terrorized by the memory of what happened to his parents, and you have to watch the movie to find out what happens to Billy, and you know, does he go crazy, does he not go crazy? It's one of those kind of things. I've always really kind of enjoyed this holiday slasher film here, but the transfer of this Blu-ray here, it's not outstanding. It looks okay, but there are some moments in the film that just look like VHS kind of style for some reason. Like it went from like a decent picture to like really weird off picture. I don't understand. Maybe the picture change was like the cut stuff, because this is the original unrated version, because like it cuts a certain footage and it just looks like maybe even worse than VHS for a little, like a couple seconds at a time. It was just really strange. But the movie for the most part looks okay on Blu-ray. Just like certain spots are just kind of questionable. And on this Blu-ray here, you get an all-new commentary track by the writer and composer, an audio interview with the director talking about the film, and yeah, that's pretty much all you get on this Blu-ray here. But if you've never seen it, go out there and check it out, especially if you guys love 80s slasher films. It's actually a decent watch. And next up over here is a documentary I just kind of wanted to see because I'm a fan of the guy, of George Takei, and this is a documentary called Be Takei, and this is a documentary about the man and how he grew up as a little boy, and how his family and him got put into an internment camp because they looked like the enemy like a year or two or however how long it was, and it's him telling the story about that, and how he got into acting in Star Trek, and how he came out to the world as gay, and it's just a very, very well done documentary about the man. It's very kind of like really heartfelt, but in a funny kind of way. If you ever got a chance to watch this documentary, George Takei, of course, is now on the Howard Stern show as an announcer. He's famous for saying that, and I just thought this was a really fun, funny, heartwarming documentary. That if you're a fan of George Takei and Star Trek and all those other TV things that he's done over the years, you guys will definitely get a kick out of this one. But that's Be Takei here on DVD. I thought it was pretty decent. And next up over here from Paramount is the new installment of Transformers Age of Extinction here on Blu-ray. This is the 4th installment of the Transformers franchise. Now Shia LaBeouf has left the franchise, and Mark Wahlberg looks like is going to be taking over in this one. I watched this one in theaters a few months back with my friend Michael, and me and him, we had kind of had different opinions when it came to this film. We both thought the action was good and stuff, but the story and the way Michael Bay directs his films sometimes just gets overwhelming sometimes when you're watching it. Like, there's certain kind of music cues that hit when certain things are happening. You're like, oh, that was predictable. You know what I mean? Like a guy's wearing a cowboy hat and driving down like a dirt path. You hear like like weird music, and it's just like when you see things in Michael Bay movies, you just know when a certain music cue is gonna hit, and you know what I mean? Like certain things are gonna happen, like the camera. The way he moves his camera is kind of the same as Bad Boys and all his other movies from back in the day. But you have to admit, he knows how to direct great action sequences. You know what I mean? Like he's like the only one I know right now that can direct a really badass action sequences and stuff. And this Blu-ray here comes with over 3 hours of bonus behind the scenes material. And there's like a special feature on here where Michael Bay's mom comes to the set and is just like messing with him and like doing things and talking about Michael Bay and how she doesn't really watch the Transformers movies or some of his stuff, and it was just kind of really interesting. And you get like a 2-hour making of the film, just like on the set, and them showing you how the movie was made and things like that. But if you're a fan of the Transformers films, I suggest picking up the Blu-ray because the picture quality is outstanding and the Transformers come off really beautiful looking in on this Blu-ray set here. But that's Transformers here, Age of Extinction here on Blu-ray. Make sure you guys give it a chance if you guys like the Transformers films. Alright guys, and next up over here is Edge of Tomorrow here on Blu-ray, starring Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise. In this movie, it's pretty much about aliens versus the humans, but in this movie the humans are about to be extinct, and Tom Cruise in this movie kind of plays this like PR guy that gets thrown into this war as a soldier and has to help the human race defeat these aliens. But as soon as he arrives on this beach where this battle is happening, him and his whole crew get killed. But the thing is, with him, he has the power somehow to wake up and relive that same day over and over again, and has to try to learn how to you know, figure out how to take out these aliens and not die when he arrives at this beach. And of course he has Emily Blunt there to help him along the way, which is like his partner in the film. I saw this movie this past summer, and I thought it was pretty badass for a science fiction action flick. I thought the aliens kind of looked like those guys from one of the Matrix movies, those weird creatures from the Matrix movies. And in this film, or actually on this Blu-ray here, you get a 40-minute making of documentary of the film on here, like post-production, production, and all that cool stuff when the director is like on set trying to figure out how the special effects are going to work and things like that. And there's also a cool special feature on here with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt talking about the big metal suits that they wore in the movie. They talked about how they weighed like between 80 to 100 pounds depending on what kind of guns they had on their suit that day. And Tom Cruise had to wear this suit for 6 to 7 hours at a time, and how he, you know, just kind of had to like work his body up for like 3 or 4 months before he had to go and shoot this movie to actually be able to withstand the pressure of having 100 pounds, you know, like on your back and things. And I thought that was a really cool featurette that was on this Blu-ray here. You also get, of course, deleted scenes. I definitely recommend this one. I know Tom Cruise gets a lot of flack these days because he's kind of nutty, but I don't really look at, actors' personal lives, and when I go into movies, I just look at the movie as a whole, and I thought this movie came off pretty damn fun. But that's The Edge of Tomorrow here on Blu-ray. Alright guys, and next up from Warner Brothers is Mike and Molly, the complete 4th season here on DVD. I've always liked this show, especially when the DVDs and Blu-rays started coming out of this show. I believe the first season is the only one that ever came out on Blu-ray, but the rest of the seasons were only on DVD. But that's how I came across this show, because I don't really watch television on a regular basis like TV shows with commercials and things, so I usually wait for things to come out on DVD or Blu-ray. And I always really liked this show. It stars Melissa McCarthy, who you guys all know from like The Heat and Identity Thief and things like that. But in this show, to me, she's a little bit more subdued. She's not as over the top and crazy as she is in the movies that she does. She still has her crazy moments and things, but she's just kind of like a little bit more tamed down in this show. And this show is pretty much about a cop and a school teacher who meet each other in a Overeaters Anonymous meeting and become a couple and get together and things. And in season 4 here, Molly in the past season, she was a school teacher, and at the beginning of this season, she's just had enough. She's kind of having a mental breakdown, and she's like, she quits her job at her school and she doesn't really know what she's gonna do next. And then all of a sudden she's like, you know what? I want to be a writer now, and she starts writing like trashy novels, and Mike is kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to go along with it and have to deal with what Molly's going to do. I don't know. I just think it's kind of a funny premise for this season that Molly doesn't really have a job now, that Mike's kind of sort of supporting her on her journey of trying to find herself. And I just thought the show was really kind of funny, and I can really relate to it because they're big people. I'm a big person, and you don't really get to see that often on television or in movies, like big people represented as like the main people of a show or a movie. You know what I mean? Like you don't see big people as like main stars of things, because Hollywood's usually like, I want them to be skinny, beautiful, and perfect, kind of thing. And that's what I like. That's one of the reasons why I like this show here. But that's Mike and Molly, the complete 4th season here on DVD. I think it's funny. And next up is a season of a show I've never seen, but I don't even know if I really heard of, to be honest. But I really like the actress, the star of the show, and it's called Mom, the complete 1st season here on DVD. This one stars Anna Faris, who you guys all know from the Scary Movie movies, and one movie I really love called Smiley Face, where she plays a really wonderful character in that movie. And in this movie, she plays a mother to 2 kids. She's like an alcoholic, and she's going to AA meetings and things because she's been sober for like 100 days now. She's going through a mental breakdown at work, and she's just trying to figure out how she's gonna handle her life now. Now that she's sober and that she just can't go to the bottle and drink booze whenever she wants, because she wants to be a good mother to her kids. And it's just a really funny premise to the show. And Allison Janney plays Anna Faris's mom in this one, and she was like a crack addict, you know, like really into like all these drugs and liquor and things like that. And her mom's coming back into her life now, and they're all trying to like make things work a little bit. I think it's a really funny sitcom, and I don't know if it's still on television now. I think it might be, but I think this season was actually really super funny. Anna Faris really brings the funny in this one. I've always liked her comedy stylings ever since the Scary Movie movies that she was in back in the day. Give this one a chance, especially if you like Anna Faris. I thought it was pretty decent. And next up from Disney is The $1 Million Arm here on Blu-ray, starring Jon Hamm. And in this film, Jon Hamm plays this sports agent named JB. He's kind of on, you know, the outs when it comes to his company that he runs with his friend. They're about to go under. They just lost one of their biggest clients, you know, they ever had or are about to have, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. And one night, him and his partner are watching a cricket tournament on television that takes place in India, and they're like, wow, these guys throw pretty fast, and they decide to hold this contest, to go down to India, to hold this contest for $1 million to put on down there to see if they can find the next great baseball pitcher. Story ensues from there. I thought this movie was very inspirational. I thought it was decently acted. The story was just, I don't know, it felt kind of a little bit like it could have been a made-for-TV kind of movie, but it was shot very well, like not a TV movie, but like the story of it felt like a Lifetime kind of movie, not a big Disney flick. The performances in the movie were very good. It was based on a true story, and on this Blu-ray here, you actually get to see the real JB and the people that won the contest talking about how it changed their lives and how they got plucked, you know, from India, living in really bad areas over there, like living in dirt and like really bad houses and things, and how they got, you know, plucked from that to, you know, to like kind of like sort of like royalty now, you know, compared to where they lived before. And it's just very inspirational to watching movies like this. I've always really liked baseball movies like Field of Dreams and Sandlot and, you know, things like that, and Rookie of the Year. And I thought this movie was pretty decent. It just, like I said, it has a couple of little plot holes and flaws to it, but I did still enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like it's not a bad movie whatsoever. But that's The $1 Million Arm here on Blu-ray. It's okay. It's really worth a rental. Alright guys, and next up is Sleeping Beauty here on Blu-ray, the Diamond Edition. This is actually the second time Sleeping Beauty has been released on Blu-ray. The first one came out back in 2008, the 2-disc Platinum Edition, 50th Anniversary Edition. I always kind of like this cover of the movie with the blue border and everything. It just looks classy in my opinion. But this one also looks cool, where you see Maleficent and Aurora standing back to back with one another. But if you guys don't know the story of Sleeping Beauty, it's about this princess named Aurora. When she was a baby, she got this spell put on her by Maleficent to, you know, on her 16th birthday, when she pricks her finger on a spinning wheel, she's gonna die. But yet there's these 3 witches in the meantime that are putting nice spells on her, like a spell of beauty, a spell of song, and one of them puts a spell on her that says you're not gonna die when you prick your finger, you're just gonna fall asleep, and the only thing that can wake you up is love's, you know, true kiss or first kiss or whatever it is. You know, that's basically the synopsis of the film. I always like the story of Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and things. They're just classic, you know, Disney stories in my opinion, and this is part of you know, the Disney classic era, you know, and that I have always loved, like, you know, Little Mermaid and Dumbo and, you know, Pinocchio and things like that. I just love the old school animation style of Disney. I know Disney's changed over the years, like Toy Story with the computer animation. I love those movies too, like Wreck-It Ralph and things. But just nothing beats the true old school animation that you get from old school Disney. And on this Blu-ray here, you get a handful of new special features, like some deleted scenes that are like hand-drawn, that weren't put in the movie, that were kind of interesting to check out. And you get all the original special features that were on this 2-disc edition that came out a handful of years ago that are on this new Blu-ray. And I think they might have went back to remaster the picture of it because it looks really, really amazing here on Blu-ray. But that's Sleeping Beauty here. Make sure you guys go out there if you guys like Sleeping Beauty. This is a very cool edition to have. Alright, and next up from Lionsgate is this weird movie that kind of sort of felt like a house party movie in a way, and it's called School Dance here on DVD. It's about this young boy named Jason. He goes to high school. He's kind of like the kid, you know, no one really looks at. He kind of doesn't have a whole lot of friends, but the school he goes to has all these different cliques, like the nerd clique, the gangster clique, the dance clique, the rapper clique, you know, like all these different, you know, groups of people in the school, and he really wants to be a part of one of them, and he has this crush on this one girl, and he makes this bet with a couple of guys that he'll get her panties by the end of the school dance that day. And that's pretty much a synopsis of the movie. It's really kind of bad. Like it stars a lot of great comedians in here, like Mike Epps. You get a quick appearance in there by Jim Brewer, who you guys all know from Half Baked, and you also get what was it called? I said Kevin Hart, Mike Epps, Little Duval, a lot of stand-up comedians. You also get Linnea, who's a very, very funny comic, and George Lopez, a bunch of cool people. But just this movie's storyline is just kind of like all over the place. A lot of the stuff that's happening in the movie doesn't really make sense to what's really going on in the story. But there's the comedians in there, like Mike Epps and Kevin Hart, have some really funny scenes in it that I really laughed out loud at. You know what I mean? Just because it looked like they were improvising and having a good time, just, you know, making a crazy movie. But like, it's not a good movie whatsoever, but there is funny moments in it that I really did enjoy. And to find out that Kevin Hart is like uncredited on IMDb for this movie, it's like he doesn't really want his name attached to it and stuff, like, because he's not even on the front cover here. Like, if he, you know, if he wanted to be really a big part of this movie, he would, you know, I say put his face on the cover and help sell it, but he's like, I guess, no, please don't put me on the cover of this. Well, that's School Dance here on DVD. I can't really recommend it unless you like straight to DVD, you know, comedy movies, or urban comedy movies, as some people like to call them. This one was just an okay urban comedy, but that's School Dance here on DVD. And next up over here is an iconic horror film from the 70s. I've always loved it. I have like the VHS. I have the first edition of it on DVD, which I believe was a Pioneer release, which I have signed by Gunnar Hansen, Tobe Hooper, and the late great Marilyn Burns. And I have the last Blu-ray release that came out. But I didn't get the big 4-disc set. But this is the 40th anniversary edition of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre here on Blu-ray. You guys all know the story of this, about a group of 5 friends on a sort of like a weekend getaway in Texas, until they come across Leatherface, a chainsaw wielding maniac, and his crazy family, and they start getting picked off one by one. And that's all you really know when you need to know about this movie. I've always loved the film. I pretty much know everything about it already. And Gunnar Hansen, the guy that plays Leatherface in this movie, is probably one of the nicest guys you would ever meet at these horror conventions. You know, it's just one of those things, like, he played one of the scariest guys in film history, but yet he's one of the nicest guys that you would ever meet. You know what I mean? And this Blu-ray right here is remastered in 4K, so it's the best possible picture you're ever going to get of this movie. I kept getting comments from people like a week or two ago saying, Brendan, you got to get this Blu-ray. The picture is phenomenal. And all you guys are absolutely right. It looks beautiful now on Blu-ray. The last Blu-ray was beautiful, but this one was just even, more shined up and, and better. But I know some people complain about that. Some people like watching movies like this on VHS when it's kind of grainy and kind of, like choppy a little bit, when you see like the, like the tracking lines and things, and people like that. And I kind of understand it, because that's how I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff back in the day, on like, weird, really bad VHS quality kind of things. But the thing is, the technology has come so far. Don't you want to see your movies in the best possible way you can? And that's what this Blu-ray is right here. This is a single disc edition, and on this Blu-ray here you get 4 new commentary tracks on here, with like Toby Hooper, Marilyn Burns, and Gunnar Hansen, and composers and writers and all this stuff on this single disc Blu-ray here, which I think is cool. All new commentaries. It's always really cool to hear what they have to say, especially 40 years after they made this classic here. And if you guys have never seen the movie, what are you doing watching my videos? This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And next up from Sony is a childhood favorite of mine. These next two are. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to show them at the same time. And that is the Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 here on Blu-ray. They're coming out in celebration of the 30th anniversary edition, 30th anniversary of the first Ghostbusters film. And I gotta say, the first Ghostbusters, I believe it's the same transfer as the first Blu-ray release that came out, a year or two ago, which looks decent. It still has a little bit of grain in the film, but it doesn't take away from the the awesomeness which is Ghostbusters. But I gotta say, Ghostbusters 2 here on Blu-ray blew my mind of how awesome the picture quality is on this. It's just absolutely beautiful. The transfer in 4K, because both of them are transferred in 4K, and they just look so beautiful, especially number 2. But the really cool thing is about these releases here, you get all the same special features from the previous DVD release, and you get a brand new special feature on here, like a what's it called, like a roundtable discussion with Dan Aykroyd and the director, what was his name again? Ivan Reitman. Sorry, I couldn't remember at the moment. But Ivan Reitman talking about the films and how they came up with the ideas and what they think about the movies now, and how they stood the test of time and things like that. You get part one of that discussion on here, and part 2 of the discussion on Ghostbusters 2, which I think was a really cool special feature. And but that's the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 here on Blu-ray. If you're a fan of them, they also came together in a digibook, which if you're a fan of the films, you're gonna have to get them on Blu-ray. They look nice, and I was really happy with the whole presentation of these here. And next up over here, this one is from Vertical Entertainment, and this movie stars Brian Austin Green, who you guys all know from 90210, and Mini Savari from American Pie and American Beauty. And this movie is called Don't Blink here on DVD. And this movie is pretty much this basic kind of generic kind of horror film with a generic kind of story about a group of friends going to this cabin for a getaway kind of thing, or cabin kind of motel thing, getaway. And when they get there, no one's at the cabin. There's like food on the table, and they see like a noose on the wall, and like just weirdly weird, things that they see, and they're just slowly starting to go, what happened here? But they can't drive away to go somewhere else because they're all out of gas. And longer as they stay there, they start to notice that their friends start slowly disappearing, and they're just trying to figure out, wait a minute, my friend was just right here. Where did they go? Where did they go? And they're trying to figure out what's going on before they all disappear themselves. And that's pretty much the basic synopsis of this film. The acting was okay. It was shot beautifully, but it just didn't impress me at all. It just felt, like I said at the beginning of this review, really generic, and just kind of like, after like the first couple minutes, you kind of knew what was going to happen next. I really tried to get into it, but Mena Suvari really didn't have really much to do in this film. I don't know, it just kind of fell flat in my opinion. But that's Don't Blink here on DVD. I wasn't impressed. And next up over here from Wellgo USA is Very Good Girls here on Blu-ray, starring Dakota Fanning and Elizabeth Olsen. In this film, they play, longtime best friends. They're about to go to college and experience life and, move out of their family's houses. And this movie takes place the summer before that. And they make this pact with one another to lose their virginity before they, go off to college. But the thing is with this movie, when you hear that, the people making a pact to have sex and things, it kind of sounds like American Pie, but it's done in more of like a dramatic, kind of way that was like kind of very refreshing in my opinion. And I thought that the chemistry between Dakota Fanning and Elizabeth Olsen was very good in this movie. But the thing is, when they make this pact with one another, they both kind of meet this one guy at the same time, and they both kind of have this attraction to him, and they both kind of want that guy to be that, you know, the guy for both of them, you know, kind of thing. And they both have, you know, problems with their families, and their families are kind of crazy and dysfunctional, and some of them are not dysfunctional, but some of them are just kind of crazy, and it's just their lives in general. But to me, it's just one of those movies. It just totally feels like a one-time watch. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna really need to watch this one again. Was it bad? No. Richard Dreyfuss is in it. How could it be horrible if Richard Dreyfuss is in your movie? Except for that one movie, Paranoia. Ooh, that movie was bad, but he was in it. He was like the best part of that whole movie. But this is very good, girls. It's okay, it's worth watching once. Alright guys, and next up from Mill Creek is season 1 and 2 here of Soap here on DVD. This is a show my mom told me that I need to get and check out because, you know, she knows I'm a big fan of 70s, 80s sitcoms and things. And she's like, Brendan, you're totally gonna dig this one. I know you're a fan of Billy Crystal. He's in here. He plays one of the funniest characters in the show. Brendan, I think you're gonna like it. So I'm like, okay, I'll check it out then. This show is actually really kind of cool. It's about these two sisters. One of them is really super rich, and the other one really has like a poor kind of lifestyle. But they both have super dysfunctional families. On the poor family side, you know, she has a gay son played by Billy Crystal, and she has another son who thinks he's a mobster and wants to, you know, whack everybody he sees, you know, kind of thing. And on the rich people's side, they're really super dysfunctional themselves also in different weird ways. But they also have a butler that works for them that's just really over the top and hilarious in the show. His name is Benson, and he kind of just sort of does what he wants and says what he feels. And like, you know, say if like he's being, you know, asked to do something, he's like, hey, do it yourself. You know, that kind of attitude. And I thought that was probably the best character to me in this show was Benson, and he's just absolutely hilarious in this TV show. And then when I was watching this, my mom's like, did you know? Or a friend of mine actually told me Soap was spun off to another show called Benson, and I'm like, holy crap, the best character of Soap got his own TV show? And I'm like, that's awesome, because Mill Creek also put out seasons 1 and 2 of this show also, and in this show he's on leave from the rich lady's house to go work for like a governor or like a guy that's going to trying to become like a senator or something like that, and he's like, you know, working with a super rich person to try to help him become a better person, but he still has his, you know, really funny quirky little humor that he has, you know, because he still says and does what he wants. And I just thought these two were really funny shows from the 70s and 80s or whatever it was, and I just think these are hilarious. If you guys see these out there, Mill Creek always prices stuff cheap, so you probably get the 2-season packs for like $10 or less. You know, these are just great shows here. Alright guys, and these last two up here, I might get kind of confused when I'm trying to tell you the synopsis of the stories, because they're really kind of similar, and one of them is really super bad, and so please forgive me here. But the first one up is from Image Entertainment, and it's called The Devil Incarnate here on DVD. It's about this newlywed couple who goes to this tarot card reader just for the hell of it, and the tarot card person says, you know, this crazy old lady says, you're pregnant. And they're like, oh, alright. You know, they're all happy-go-lucky. But as soon as, you know, she starts becoming more and more pregnant, crazier and crazier things start to happen. You know, like weird paranormal, crazy kind of things start to happen. And the husband is trying to figure out why. Why is this happening? And, you know, what's going on? And it's just them trying to deal with the problem that they have before the baby actually comes, because they think they might have like a demon child. And it's just really kind of crazy. But to me, the movie felt kind of flat. It was, you know, a typical straight-to-DVD kind of horror film. It didn't really bring any scares or anything new to the table when it comes to horror movies. I was really kind of disappointed in this one. Like, even some of the makeup effects were just kind of like, really? You know, that's what you're doing with that? But that's The Devil Incarnate here on DVD. And this next one has the same sort of kind of premise, but it was done a little bit better. And this one's called Delivery, The Beast Within. It's about this newlywed, or, you know, this couple that's pregnant with their first child. And but the difference between this movie and the other one is that they have this TV show crew in their house filming their experience being pregnant, kind of like a show that you would see on TLC, you know, like people, you know, being followed around when they're just about to have their baby and having their baby kind of thing. But you know, they have a show following them around, but then all this craziness starts to happen to the mother, and like, you know, as soon as, you know, she becomes pregnant, she starts seeing different little markings on her stomach and bruises all over the place, and crazier things start to happen, and a lot of this stuff is being captured by the film crew that's in their house, and this, you know, crazier and crazier paranormal things start to happen, doors start opening by themselves, and just a lot of crazy stuff happens in this one. But it's, like I said, it's shot just like a TLC kind of TV show, but then it flips to, like, you know, personal cameras that they have in the house when, you know, the show's not actually shooting, you know, kind of thing. And then that, when it gets to that, it gets a little bit more interesting. But it's okay. It's not great, but it's not completely horrible. But that's Delivery, The Beast Within here on DVD. If you see it like at Redbox or your local video store, I suggest renting this one if you see it out there. But guys, that's all I have to show and talk to you guys about today. If you guys like anything I showed today, please let me know down below. Also, let me know what you guys picked up recently, and I'll see you guys next time.